Because the smartest scientists in the entire world all agree that it's real.
I'm glad you brought that up. Mr. Reynolds, these were all the smartest scientists. Only problem is, they kept being wrong!
This is insane, you fool!
I'm a fool because I have more faith in the saints that wrote the Bible?
Yeah, because you just read the words of a bunch of guys that you never met, and you just take it on faith that everything they wrote was true.
And what makes you think what your scientists are writing is any more truer than my saints?
Because there are volumes of proven data, numbers, figures.
Have you poured through the data yourself? The numbers, the figures?
Well, no, no.
Oh, interesting. So let me get this straight, Mr. Reynolds. You get your information from a book written by men you've never met, and you take their words as truth based on a willingness to believe, a desire to accept, a leap of, dare I say it, faith?
Come on. Look, I mean, I don't even know how I'm supposed to respond to that. Like, come on.
I rest my case.
Always question the scientists and
What is up, people? So it's a little impromptu, nothing, no topics at all, nothing really going on. Basically just BSing it. Let me see, get everything turned on. Let me see. I don't know why this chat's been really messing up. There it goes. But yeah, kind of wanted to talk about the climate stuff that was going on. I talked about the other day, the methane situation, and it's really funny how they do turncoat when it comes to something else. For instance, they're saying that greenhouse gases, the emissions, methane is the second of all of the big four that really affects the climate. And here's the thing: why are they now saying are lifting restrictions so that industry doesn't have to worry about it at all? So I got nosy, and what you do is I went into the EPA's little files, and sure enough, I found a whole area dedicated to educating the people about, and we'll go ahead and share it on the screen, educating the people about methane and the emissions that they produce. So I thought that was kind of funny. So like I said, it kind of started going through them, but in a nutshell, basically they're very clear on the fact that methane is pretty much has a big role in this climate change discussion. Now, if that's the case, how are they just all of a sudden releasing regulations on it? Now, here's a kicker. It's almost like a bribe / FU to the industry, because what they've told industry is that if you decide maybe to capture it, maybe later down the road we'll be able to do some subsidies, and it'll be worth something, because now capturing it is worthless, but maybe we'll figure it out. That's what they're telling the industry. As I think a lot of you guys saw it already, the Trump, or basically, I'll play it. It's a I don't even know who the hell they are. It's a news network, 24-hour news network, and they were talking about them lifting regulations. Let's go ahead and watch that, and then we'll get into it. And as that happens, I'll put the link on the chat, and you guys can join up.
The United States has reversed regulations on methane emissions from the oil and gas industry. Methane is a major contributor to global warming. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency said easing the 2016 rules would save energy companies up to $123 million over the next 5 years. The CBC's Carolyn Dunn joins us now live from Washington. So, Carolyn, what are the details?
Well, as we expected, the EPA is proposing that they ease the restrictions for the oil and gas industry on methane emissions. Basically, what it will mean if it comes to fruition is that the oil and gas industry will not be required to inspect and trap methane emissions, not by law anyway, either at pipelines, at the source of where they extract oil and gas, or where they store oil and gas and energy products. The EPA says easing these regulations is going to save the oil industry $18 to $19 million a year US. In a press release, EPA Administrator Andrew Wheeler said EPA's proposal delivers on President Trump's executive order and removes unnecessary and duplicative regulatory burdens from the oil and gas industry. Now, they say that methane emissions have gone down 13 to 15% since 1990, even though the extraction of oil and gas has doubled in the same period. So they say that oil and gas companies will actually have an incentive to trap that methane anyway, because it may have a market value, at least during certain points in time. So they don't need the regulation. That's sort of the argument. Methane, of course, is second only to carbon dioxide as far as being a driver of climate change, causing about 10% of emissions. And the oil and gas industry in the United States is definitely methane's largest emitter.
Any indication how the reversal will be received?
Well, listen, environmental groups are definitely going to be taking this to court. They have already indicated that they are going to sue the administration to try and stop it. And it's interesting also that we're seeing in the oil and gas industry, not everyone is applauding this at all. There are some big companies like Shell, like BP, and they are basically saying that it kind of hurts their ability to market, particularly natural gas, as a clean burning fuel. And they would sort of like to see the status quo continue, and they will just continue with the efforts that they have been making to reduce their own methane emissions. They also say that, this could get caught up in court, as we have already heard from environmental groups for so many years, that even if they did have a bit of a financial boon from it, that might not happen for many, many years. So all of these people, for, against, and indifferent, are all going to have a chance to have their say over the next 60 days as the EPA holds a public comment period, basically. And obviously, this is just probably going to show the divides within the oil and gas industry and also between the administration.
Thank you. That is the CBC's Carolyn Dunn in Washington. Janet McCabe helped develop the methane emission guidelines at the EPA under President Obama. She is now a professor at the McKinney School of Law at Indiana University and joins me now. So, Professor McCabe, what is your reaction to this move?
Well, thanks for having me and thanks for covering this story. I think nobody should be surprised that this proposal has come out from EPA. It's another in a string of rules to roll back regulations, postpone regulations that are designed to protect public health. And that is, I think, the key thing that people need to keep in mind, that EPA is a public health agency. That is its mission. Its mission is not a regulatory relief agency. So I think that a lot of people are very concerned about this proposal because oil and gas production, which has been noted, and gas is considered a clean fuel, it pollutes a lot, and it pollutes a lot in the production chain. But there are very sensible ways to minimize that pollution that the 2016 rules set in place.
We know that although methane only accounts for roughly 10% of U.S. greenhouse gas emissions, its impact on climate change is immense. Can you explain that for us?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So different kinds of pollutants affect the climate differently. It's all kind of regulated to CO2, but methane is considered to be a more severe, it has higher potential to harm the planet than CO2 molecule per molecule. So even if there's less of it, its effect can be greater. And so this is why the oil and gas industry was, as EPA in the 2010 through, during the Obama administration, looked at which were the most harmful industries in terms of their emissions. Motor vehicles was right up there, fossil fuel energy generation was right up there, and then production of oil and gas through its methane emissions was next.
So ultimately, why do you think President Trump has decided to relax these rules, given that some of the oil and gas companies weren't even really asking for this?
Right. Yeah, that's a really good question. Well, I think there are two reasons that were reflected in two of his early executive orders. One is regulatory relief. So the agencies have been directed to find every regulation that they could possibly roll back. And number two was his executive order on energy independence and amping up the development of fossil energy sources in this country. And oil and gas certainly is doing.
Yeah, so like I said in the chat, so government, EPA, this is the main thing. EPA is the ones who are now saying we can be more relaxed. We can relax on greenhouse on the emissions that are out there, methane. And now I want to play you. This is on EPA's website right now. Them giving public awareness about how bad methane is.
Mitigation matters. The role of methane in climate change.
Oops.
Methane is the second most abundant man-made greenhouse gas after carbon dioxide. Unlike carbon dioxide, methane has a short lifespan, lasting only 12 years in the atmosphere, so reducing it now will have an impact in our lifetimes. Also, methane's ability to trap heat in the atmosphere is 28 times greater than that of carbon dioxide. This means that methane is an important driver of climate change. Methane is emitted during the production of coal, oil, and natural gas. It also comes from solid waste decaying in landfills, animal waste management systems, wastewater treatment facilities, and other man-made and natural sources. These emissions pose risks to people and the environment. Methane emitted into the atmosphere creates air pollution that causes thousands of premature deaths each year. Methane that builds up in coal mines and oil and gas facilities can cause explosions that endanger workers.
A little far-fetched.
Because methane is the major component of natural gas, it can be captured before it is emitted into the atmosphere and used to produce energy for heating, cooking, and electricity. And when methane is captured from landfills and agriculture manure lagoons, the collection systems also can reduce local water contamination. Since 2004, countries around the world have been working in partnership through the Global Methane Initiative on projects to reduce methane emissions worldwide and use the methane as an energy source. These projects are also helping to reduce air and water pollution, protect.
All right, I think we had enough of that crap. Anyone notice an issue? Big issue. Huge issue. Can't miss this one. Okay, so literally what's happening with this whole being more laxative, it's literally that their project of capturing methane didn't work. Now they have to give them incentive. It's going to be worth something soon. Keep capturing it, because now they don't want to. They're putting too much time into it, but they have to. But where are they going to store it? Why? That's the thing. We have to get rid of all these emissions. They figured out a way to make money on CO2. They can't figure out a way to make money on the captured methane. So the companies that are doing it don't want to capture methane and sequester it for free. It's pretty damn simple. Pretty damn simple. And like I said, that was one of. I mean, they talk. Methane is pretty much a big deal as far as the EPA is concerned, but yet EPA is now so laxadays about this. That's weird to me. Let's see when the upload I just put up, when it was actually uploaded to YouTube.
Pollution, protect people's health,
Wrong one.
improve local.
So let me see. It was uploaded in 2016. So in 2 years or 3 years, suddenly now methane's okay? How does that work? That's how I know it's a scam. It's clear evidence. I mean, yay, I did the mute thing again. Fucking A. So, I was trying to say, one of the big things I want to do is get the guy I get all my research from, Jim Lee. I'm going to try. I've been talking to him back and forth a few times. I'm going to try to get him on to do an interview, just to have, he really understands all this climate shit and weather modification stuff. And I think it's going to be a really good sit down, because he knows so much more than I do. And I know the questions I want to ask, and they should be asked to someone like that. So, hopefully I've got fingers crossed. And, yeah, I see you guys in the chat. So, who was saying something about landfills? Let me see. Lenny says landfills, they just seal it. No, they don't. Nope. Wrong. All wrong, Lenny. Completely wrong. So wrong, it's insane. They do burn. One of the options that they do have in some cases, depending on the size of the landfill, they do burn it off. You will see those fire stacks. But generally, I'd say most of the landfill, I'm saying 90% of the landfills in United States, they literally, what they do is we run pipes, corrugated pipe, holes in it, slits in it, running down the bottom liner of the trash. And then they run out to this closest slope, and then they run them vertical until the total elevation of the landfill will be, as we go up, and it just seeps out. The LEA will then come in and with a machine, and they test it and see how much methane's coming out of it. But that's the main way they do it. Now, granted, a lot of the landfills are now going to these systems that capture it. Still not worth it because the machines that they use are pushing out more emissions than they're capturing. But the idea is that the methane doesn't get into the atmosphere. Okay, but yeah, still a very crude way of how they get rid of methane in landfills. Just so you know, for 14 years, I actually supplied dirt to two big landfills on Camp Pendleton, so I actually have a very, very good understanding of how landfills work. Lenny says, because Lenny always has to go back, consumer choice needs no government intervention, but they are going to shell for the government. Sean, talking about doing it. Oh yeah, they're gonna. EPA isn't for us. EPA works for again, and that's the best part. The guy who runs the EPA, he recently was a oil lobbyist. That's why Trump hired him. And I don't know who the guy is in my chat, but he keeps telling me that he goes in my comments and goes, climate change is fake, proof. And then I'm like, okay, but it's real. And I'm in the middle of a conversation. I'm trying to get him to realize that pollution is real. Therefore, why wouldn't it do something? It's pretty simple. Yeah, but the second video, which was very alarming, and actually that was the first time I'd watched it. I took some notes down, and the biggest one I wrote in big letters compared to everything else, it says, methane holds more radiation causing global warming. If that video said methane holds more of the radiation that does the warming than CO2. They got $1 billion industry in creating these carbon capture machines for the guides of extracting more oil. Again, a couple of these places are at 1,000% per day more now that they're using carbon dioxide to recover oil. It's a joke. CO2, they got this new fuel that they want to make. And they're telling you all these things that are the good, but they're not honest at all. And if they're not, when they do the sequestering where they do put it in the ground, they're literally going to start putting them in areas where they believe there's oil to recover. I'm sorry, because what's going to happen is they then have everything they need to start fracking. That's as simple as it gets. Doesn't take a scientist, obviously. But like I said, guys, no one's gonna come on the panel. It's cool. I didn't even plan on going on live. The biggest thing I wanted to do is get this information out before I forgot it. Tomorrow I'm gonna have the normal size stream, long stream, and more importantly, like I said, really get in depth with this stuff. Like I said, I got a lot more to show you guys. I just wanted to get on and say what's up. I told you I was gonna go live again. Yeah, shit. Let me go through my files real quick. I may have some stuff I wanted to show you guys, and since it's gonna be a nice slow stream, I got time to do it. I'm gonna keep that. What's up, John? How you doing, sir?
Yeah, good, mate.
So do you have a wait? You guys have a pretty bad methane issue in Australia too, don't you?
Hang on, I just got to shut down a couple of. Here we go.
Oh. Good. Usually it's me who doesn't do that, so I'm happy. I even remember to unmute the panel.
Yeah, you're talking about methane.
Mhm.
They forget there are a lot more animals back in the past. There's less humans. There's, the Earth was covered with so many animals that there would have been more methane then, and
But
there's less animals now.
yeah, but I think, you have to remember, it's also the idea that it's also we have more other natural gases that it's now competing for the worst. I mean, it's just weird because did you see the video I played just like a few minutes ago?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw that, mate. Yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah,
insane. They're
yeah.
literally saying we're going to take regulations away, and everywhere I've looked, methane is bad. And then in the video we
Yeah,
watched from the EPA, they even said it's worse in certain situations of climate change.
well, I don't get the drift because, like I said, there's more animals
Mm.
back in the past, and there was more. You had volcanoes, and they sprout acids and stuff like that. That they talk about climate change. They're not realising we had acid rain back in the 80s. That's why they banned all these different chemicals,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and a lot of people have forgotten about that era.
Mm.
Because Europe had a very devastation of acid rain with certain chemicals in the spray cans and stuff like that.
Yep, yep. They
That
I know one of them was the Montreal Protocol. That one, well, I don't know if it's the same one, but I know that one got away with a lot of the refrigerant type aerosols.
yeah.
And then, so I finally got the permission because there was a TED Talk I wanted to play on here, but TED Talks they're really strict about permission. So you have to like email them, tell them exactly your view on whatever you're going to talk about. But I got permission to play the interview or the talk that one of the climate scientists, her name is Jennifer Wilcox, I think it was. But she was talking about direct carbon capture, and she was pretty much promoting David Keith's company, Carbon Engineering, which is conflict of interest as far as I'm concerned, seeing how he's the leading component in geoengineering research at Harvard and trying to do geoengineering to solve climate change. Weird. We'll get into that tomorrow, but the main thing is go ahead.
Another thing, when the cold when the steam engine was first invented, then England had the big the coal-powered stuff going on. Their air was so polluted, could hardly believe. Back in the 18th century, then European started doing coal burning. Then World War II started, and there was a lot of pollution in the air because of oil burning, blowing up oil fields and all that sort of stuff.
Mm.
But coming into the after the war, things sort of cleared out. So that's why they had so cold winters during Russian invasion of.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that a lot of big events have shown us these small components of geoengineering. 9/11 was one. Yeah, because when they downed all the planes across America, it was a drastic temperature change and drastic air quality thing.
I can remember it was a clear sky, it cleared up, and it got cold.
It's got,
Because
go ahead. I'm sorry.
With the 9/11, the sky cleared so much. There was and that day it got cooler.
Was it also the a few the main one is the Mount Pinatubo when it went up when it erupted. That changed the climate in a smaller, effective way, but more importantly, I mean, it changed it. So we do know the small aspects of this and understand if we're going to do it like they're saying publicly, it's like 10 times, 1,000 times bigger with zero understanding.
Yeah,
like they don't really get they don't know what could happen. It's a very big toss up, and it's not a good thing. It's just about, I guess it's more of a waiting game, but I've now come under the guise of this. This is big. This is like huge. It's like, think about it. We're humans. Been here for a while. A lot of shit's happened. We'll adapt and then evolve. It's as simple as that.
A lot of people have forgotten the history, like the industrial age. There's so much pollution there. It did try and change the climate.
Hmm? And that's the thing. So like I wouldn't call myself a climate denier. Because I clearly, obviously, if anyone's listening, you hear that I have a problem with how they run it and what they're doing on their side of it. But more importantly, it's like this. It goes, if you go outside, we know there's pollution. If you live near LA, New York, Chicago, you see the pollution. If you don't think that affects us and where we live, you're fooling yourself. It's ridiculous.
Well, go to Japan or China, they're just wearing masks.
Yep.
Like,
well, shit, when they did the Olympics out there, when they did the Olympics, they used weather modification, cloud seeding to clear the smog.
So, how is that not climate change?
Well,
on a human scale.
Say again. Say one more time.
So, why is that not a climate change on a human scale when a whole city is just covered in smog?
Under the guise of the terminology, I guess it would be, it's just not enough room, enough area. Cloud seeding is a local effect, whereas in geoengineering is a large effect. So something that changes so for instance, on the east side of Australia, if something happens there, that will then change the weather on the west side of Australia. That would be considered a geoengineering situation. And the same token of a big monsoon in your city doesn't affect all of Australia. Okay. That's the difference between climate change and changing the change in weather or climate or forecast. I'm sorry. It gets weird to figure out the different levels of it. But again, cloud seeding, it's very small. They couldn't cloud seed more than a city at a time for any application. Otherwise, it'd look like a fleet of planes everywhere. Yeah, so I mean, it's I think to me, it's more of an issue that it's such a money grab and no one's talking about it because they're the ones who kind of they should be called out on it and no one's doing it. So I feel like I need to.
Yeah, of course, mate. Well, it's climate change deniers down all down here, up Australia, but you just got to look at the reality of it. You got lead going in the air back in the day. That was climate change. We changed that, and then you got diesel and shit going through the air. Just and they don't call it climate change.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the kicker to it. I don't think as a society, as a world population, we're gonna really do anything to actually, turn it around, fix it. I just don't think it's possible. I think they need to either figure out ways to mitigate and continue on, or mitigate, or completely figure out a way to solve shit. But if we get to the lower emissions that they want, which is almost impossible in my opinion, it's like it's all commerce, all trade, all everything would go in the tube. The idea of how we traded, how we got the goods that we have 700 years ago compared to now is based on all the technology and all these modes of transportation that were developed and evolved to this superstructure of, you can get anything anywhere tomorrow. No one's going to give that up. We can't give it up. We would lose just as many people as if we didn't do anything anyway, just based on what do I do?
You can have climate change like volcanoes and stuff like that. The climate does change because it's blocking the sun and cooling it down and changing the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing is happening over the big cities. You're smogging it up, stopping ultraviolet rays and everything else that makes that heat come through to warm them up and cooling yourself down. It's not a question of warming. It's a question of cooling. This is what climate change is all about.
I guess it'd be who you talk to, because in my opinion, I think it's warming. We're talking more about the ice caps. I get that. The bigger fear would be better yet. The cooling.
Yeah. Well, if you cool the ice caps, see there's a lot of salt in the water that retains the heat. If you put too much water in the oceans, it doesn't retain the heat, so you get a cooler effect.
Well, that's one of the biggest issues with another geoengineering, iron fertilization or ocean fertilization, where they dump iron for the phytoplankton stuff. They're basically forcing the oceans to absorb more CO2, which obviously will then heat. And acidic. Oh, God damn it! I know every time I'm going to say that word, I'm going to destroy it.
Acidic.
Acidic. It's going to become acid. There's a lot of acid in the water. I swear, one day I'm going to get that word, and it's not. I know it. It's just blah blah blah. Which changes the pH level, which causes dead seas. Anyone who doesn't know what dead sea is? It's exactly that. Doesn't sustain any life based on the fact that no oxygen in the water, is too much acid. It's a situation that they're not explaining. You may have heard about the Great Barrier Reef, how it's bleaching itself right now.
Oh yeah.
Well, they want to do.
Sorry, Sean. Go on.
Oh no, I was going to say that they're actually doing it right now, where they're doing 2 different types of. See, it's weird. Because what they're doing is under the guides, and that it can be a geoengineering method, but because the Great Barrier Reef is huge, but it's not really a geoengineering project. I think in my eyes, they're publicizing that method as a cloud seeding, a very local method, whereas they're still not explaining to people that geoengineering on a human-made scale is the world, not these pockets. And that is the scary part.
Yeah, the problem with the Great Barrier Reef is the rivers have been leaching from farms, land clearing. You've got a lot of silt going into the Barrier Reef. That's it's not that's not a natural part of it, because you got your mangroves that sort of absorbs that type of thing. But
doesn't?
wait,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, when you've got like cyclones up in North Queensland, you'd probably have about a metre, 2 metre on average, and all that rain just flushes out, and all that soil goes out,
Yeah.
and sort of just settles on the reef and kills it.
But
So
no,
that's
wait.
mad.
But here's the thing. Bleaching, when these coral reefs bleach themselves, it's not dangerous. It's not a death. It's not a death sentence. It's like they do. Like the bleaching effect is the reef doing it to itself, right?
Yeah. That's natural part, because the sea rises and lows all the time. This is why you've got layers and layers of the coral reef. Over millions and thousands of years, it builds up and builds. You get an island, but at the moment you've got land clearing, disrupting that process. So that's part of man-made, sort of like interference or global warming, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Because the balance of life in the sea.
Yeah. Again, and that kind of runs into because I think I saw a couple of people in the chat say this, where they thought maybe I was under the guise that there's no fix, let it go, and that's not. That's definitely not. We definitely need to cut down, because we going a little ape shit with our production of fossil fuels and all that stuff. But it's not anything to do with not doing solutions. It's more about what we as humans are capable of.
Yeah.
This conversation does not mean the end of existence for humans, and we're talking like it is.
Yeah.
That's my issue.
Yeah. But climate change is not about the atmosphere. It's the actual physical Earth itself, like the integration of other species that keep us here. Like you got to catch a fish, grow your food, the whole box and dice.
Mm-hmm. And
that's climate change. It's not the atmosphere.
Well, here's the crazy part about that, because if we do nothing, it's going to happen. Species are going to go extinct. It's natural.
Yeah.
But it's on a more natural terms. If we do the geoengineering things that they want to do, like solar radiation management and other big geoengineering projects, they know right offhand there's going to be a lot of species extinction. They know they're going to lose people, and they're going to lose a lot of land.
Yeah.
Actually, man, that was perfect segue. That was awesome. I have. Why don't you guys?
That? Because the smartest.
The United States.
Let me see. Okay, yeah. So, I'll share this. This is one of the early talks of David Keith, talking about the solar radiation management. That's the one where they spray sulfates, airsoft sulfates over everywhere on Earth to blanket it, lessening the radiation that can enter. Problem with that is obviously that then says all the emissions that are here are now trapped. Oh, but that's okay, because David Keith owns a direct carbon capture company. He'll capture all that CO2 for you. Okay, so this is, like I said, this is actually really short. It's like 18 seconds, but just hear what he's saying, and that's the important. Just hearing it. Wait, I don't think you'll be able to hear it. Let me know if you'll hear it or not, and if not, I'll replay it. Actually, I know you won't. Hang on. Go to my voice meter. Now that I think I figured this out. All right, so you'll hear it in a second once the speakers start going.
So if I made a decision, or if it was a collective decision,
The United States has reversed regulations on methane emissions from the oil and gas.
Why is that?
Because the smartest scientists in the entire world all agree that it's real.
I don't know where it went. I'll wait for tomorrow then, because that'd be pretty damn pointless to just be searching for that right now. My bad. Thought I had something ready. All right,
technical difficulties.
Yeah, well, it's mainly this voice meter. Like, I know there's a setup that I can use that will allow me to basically to like make it so you guys hear it, but no one else does, and I'm just not at that advanced quite yet. Soon, but not yet. Like, I'm comfortable now with the voice meter. Like, I know how to use it. I'm going to continue to use it now that I actually really looked into how to use it. So it's more about now figuring out the bells and whistles and the perks that you actually get out of it.
It's like on Terry channel. Yeah, there's so much can go wrong. It will go wrong.
And that's what I was in the chat. I was trying to say it, and I've talked to Terry a couple times, and I'd be more than happy to come out there, come on one of the streams, or in the background, just like start helping him or like figure that part, those little things out. Because like I learned all this by myself. So what happened is all the little things, the things that you don't expect, or a lot of times the YouTube channels that explain things don't say. I know those because those are the ones I had to figure out myself. So I use Zoom for a long time, so I know Zoom. The voice meter now, I actually understand it now. I didn't realize that a lot of people don't even know that these Meet Hangouts exist. I don't know why Terry doesn't use these. These are much better than Zoom, and it's cheaper too. But yeah, this is real good. And then there's a way now that Jose figured out the way to make the trolls not an issue trying to get in here. The bell. He figured out a way to stop that. That's why you guys don't even hear it in the chat anymore, because it's not on this. What you're seeing here, this is not the account. So I got to do a couple of tutorials so people start getting how to use this Meet like I am, and Jose showed me. Voice meter, because voice meter is actually really easy to use. It's the setup that's a pain in the ass, because they want you to use every bell and whistle they have on their little menu, and you will, because trust me, right now I got 7 of them open and my computer's running slow as shit. So there are things you want to throw out even though they look cool. I'm looking at maybe four little things of software to make voice meter work right, and it stay that way. That's the other part. A lot of people don't know the settings for voice meter that makes it so you don't have to change it every time. Well, things like that, I got to get those tutorials out. It makes life easier. Because the biggest issue I have is my mic volume most of the time is louder than the panel. So I got voice meter, so I can try to start balancing it out, because my voice is overwhelming over you guys, and especially if we're like arguing or going back and forth, and I want to get it down a little bit so that you don't have to adjust your volume every 20 minutes. So just learning that stuff and playing with the voice meter. Now I got those little bits and stuff that I heard Terry was having issues with that are actually really easy to fix. You just don't think about it. But yeah, I definitely gotta get over there.
It's good, Sean. Grab someone else, mate, and have a bit of a chin wag, as I say.
You're kind of cutting out a little bit.
If you want to grab someone else and have a bit of a chin wag, and good on you, mate.
Oh yeah, well, I think I'm gonna go ahead and end it. Like I said, I wasn't planning on a stream, but I was going through all the methane stuff, and I was like, I gotta talk about it. So, but yeah, hey, thanks for coming on. More than welcome. I'm gonna start doing some late ones because I want to pull you Aussies in when Terry's not not streaming. All right, have a good night. A good afternoon. Shit.
Yeah, good on you, mate.
Yeah, have a good one, sir. Yeah, guys. So like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and end this one out. No big deal to me because as far as I'm concerned, realistically, I'm not gonna say a bunk stream. It's just not something I planned on going long for. So hope the information that I did provide is makes you guys realize what they're actually doing when in regards to BSing or not, but they are. So don't get that twisted. But like I said, I'm gonna do my stream tomorrow early. I don't know, or if it's gonna be a noon my time, like the normal time I usually do it. I'm not sure yet. Depends on if Jose goes on. But I'm gonna do. It's either gonna be a split stream or I'll combine it all and cut it, edit it in half. But I'm gonna talk about more of this methane issue and the other stuff that's going on that they're not talking about in the news. So we'll figure that shit out. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate the shit out of it. It's fun, especially now because I'm actually talking about these topics that I care about. Got to make sure I change the title. I was trying to hope Riley would show his face. I knew he wouldn't really because he's scared. But more importantly, I'll go ahead and announce it now. Probably coming up pretty soon. You guys know Question Everything. Used to be You've Been Exposed. I have much respect for. We were talking last night on his stream. I think we're going to do a debate, me and him, because, well, for one, we don't agree on the shape, but we question shit. And then more importantly, in my opinion, the respect's there. We've had these conversations and there's no way it's going to turn into a shit show. There's just no way. And I think that's what we need. We're gonna have debates. Let's have a good debate. Let's have a debate where it's not gonna get personal. So if you like those type of debates, don't come to this one because I'm telling you right now, it's not gonna be disrespectful. But at the same time, I'm very confident in what I know, and because I know, regardless of what I tell him, at the end of the day, when we're done, we take it off the panel. We're gonna be boys. It's like family to me. So that's gonna be coming up pretty soon, and I hope you guys will enjoy that. Other than that, tomorrow I'll have a new thumbnail. It's gonna be called Lodi is part of my family. He comes to Thanksgivings. It's gonna be awesome. You guys are gonna love it. Got Lodi in like awkward positions and stuff. Like he didn't expect pictures to be taken, but I did anyway. So if he lies to you and says it never happened, let me go ahead and show you guys because me and Lodi are family. I know what he's gonna say. I know he's gonna be all embarrassed and act. So what I'll do is I'll prove to you guys that we're family, and I see him every holiday, and I took pictures last holiday, and like I said, I made sure I waited for him to be doing something really Lodi, is what I call it. So I'll show you guys right now. And I wasn't even gonna do this, Lodi, but you started shit, so why not? You can call them as shitty as you want. You're just upset because they're good. Funny part is I got a whole file. Okay, so this one is this is Lodi in his flat Earth days. Let me go to here, not present. Where is it? There it is. Come on, work. I don't know if it's gonna work. I can make it work though. I ain't worried about that. Go like this. I don't care. There you go. You guys will see it this way. This is Lodi at his best. That one, that's in his flat earther days. This is their family, their side of the family. Lodi as a baby. Yeah, yep, that's Lodi right there. Lodi as an adolescent. This was when he was really rebelling. It was a nightmare, pure nightmare. But you know, we're glad now he stopped that whole drooling thing. He doesn't do that anymore, so that's cool. He's allowed to actually, you know, sit with the family now. So pretty proud of him on that end. But I thought I'd let you guys see that before I took off. Great way to end it. So see you guys tomorrow. Thank you all. Peace.